I'm your host, Steve, the Hopeful Humanist, and this is a Just Some Guy production. Today we're going to talk about ideas and flow to good life and resources for our spiritual toolbox amidst this very turbulent and difficult COVID-19 time. I've entitled today's episode, An Imaginative Glimpse at a Post-Covid-19 World, featuring Janus and his friend Sparky. They're at the Hopeful Humans Cafe, or as we identified in the previous episode, at Conversations, the greatest conversation on Earth Cafe, abbreviated in our In the Clouds Nebulous novel to Conversations. And we can imagine that they're sitting at a table, enjoying some conversation, talking about their next novel first sentence for the book they are going to write. And after a nice social gathering, they get up from their table and they wish their fellow patrons well. They start walking down the street to enjoy a one-to-one conversation, spiritual brother to spiritual brother. And then suddenly, both of their phones vibrate. And they look at each other, maybe slightly expectantly, but not so sure. They grab their phones, they look at their phone, and they recognize that they have both received a World Health Organization quarantine alert for a viral pandemic outbreak. Nonchalantly, interesting choice of word, Janus says to Sparky, well, I guess we're going to have to continue this conversation. Face to face, that is. I'll see you on Snapchat, or we'll Skype later, but we'll have to finish this face-to-face conversation in around 3 to 4 weeks. So I wish you well. And as he sang this without recognizing it, he steps back a couple of feet, a couple of arm lengths, a meter or so from Sparky, and Sparky does the same. And Sparky, before he starts his departure, takes a moment, stops and says, oh, I remember just snippets of that whole COVID thing back in 2020. But seriously, for me, I just remember being at home, sorting Lego. Can you believe it? My mom, as a distraction project, she got us to sort Lego. And the good news was, as anguishing as it was to sort through everything, not knowing what real anguish was all about, because a number of people were struggling with other things. Oblivious to me, I had the benefits the days after to rebuild a whole bunch of these wonderful Lego creations by going back to my owner's manuals of the different kits that I had collected. And that's really, if I think about it, that's what I remember. I remember being at home, playing with Lego, going in the backyard, and I know there was things going on, and there was definitely my parents. They were definitely stressed, and Justin Trudeau was coming on daily, giving updates. But I was talking to Bill, and he reminded me, because he was older. He's older than us, and at the time that people got into a real panic, and they were hoarding stuff, and that people couldn't even, while they were wanting to get masks and antiseptic cleaners, that people couldn't even get toilet paper. Stores were sold out of toilet paper. And Janus, after listening to the story, nods his head with some recollections of that very account, and said, yeah, you're right. I remember just saying, make sure you don't use too much toilet paper, or be careful you don't waste the Kleenexes. And wow, That just, what a crazy time that was. Yeah, says Sparky. Talk about shitty. Janus just shakes his head, and the two friends, instead of shaking hands goodbye in the new post-COVID-19 world, give each other a solemn bow and part ways. So yeah, this is kind of my imaginings about a future post-COVID-19 world, where this thing, a virus, it has the power to change the way we live our lives, and has the power to definitely wake us up. And I think that there are some really interesting learning opportunities, knowing though that right now tragedies are unfolding and people are suffering. But I can imagine that in a post-COVID-19 world, while the its arrival has interrupted supply chains and food chains, and caused a monumental crack in our sense of financial stability, that by coming together, by working together, in terms of a mantra, this idea of cooperative synergy, community collaboration, that together we can create a better world for all of us. And you wonder that while this virus is changing, the way we're living in the moment, and the words of the moment are social distancing, self-isolating, self-quarantining, toilet paper, masks, planking the curve. That maybe it could possibly help us learn how to be more human. We can I can imagine that possibly in the future, in Canada anyhow, some people are only able to have the minimal opportunity of 2 weeks vacation per year. With this COVID experience, maybe going forward, what we've discovered is on top of whatever 2 weeks minimum a person in Canada might be able to have, that annually, the world shuts down. Maybe there could be some environmental benefits to us all just taking a break, taking a time out, slowing down. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a medical expert, but you'd almost think in terms of times of the year when certain viruses are at their peak in terms of contagiousness, that maybe that's the time that we take a global time out, like people retreat to their homes. And because we're prepared for it, we won't have the panicking, the hoarding that we're witnessing right now. People they'll have, okay, we know that the World Health Organization is going forward. We're going to be issued quarantine alerts, and we'll be able to confidently say fare thee well to whoever we might be talking to until 3 weeks to 4 weeks from now. Let's hang out again. And I'm gonna go home. And you know what? Yeah, I've got all my supplies. Do you? Like, have you? Oh, you're good. Okay, because if you needed to pick something up, I have more than enough to share. We don't have to be rushing out to the stores. And yeah, let's do this. And it's a chance for the planet to heal. It's a chance for all industry to shut down, to create a level playing field. It's an opportunity for people to, I imagine right now a lot of people are working on some self-directed learning projects, some adult learning projects, or leisure projects that they've had in mind for months or years, and they actually have the occasion to tackle it. So, there is hope. And, there are a number of wonderful websites out there. The t-shirt concept, the t-shirt idea for this show will be remember, don't forget what you know. Right? So you can go back to some of my previous episodes, especially episode 1, The Happier Quest, and a number of other ones of my earlier broadcasts, my earlier episodes, and just go to the show notes and click some of those resources, because some positive messaging has been sent and people are being very encouraging and identifying that we can get through this, we will get through this. And in the meantime, here are some things you can do to fight cabin fever. And you can go to the Good News Network, and they have a number of articles in there about things you can do. I would think that this is a great time to start working on a vision board. Post-Covid-19 2020. What are the things that you realize are really important? And I think that, the two things that we're going to recognize are important are health and our relationships with other people. Because if you've got a lot of money right now and you're home alone all by yourself, I have a sense that that could actually be a really depressing realization in terms of how empty that kind of situation might be for someone. We need relationships. We need our health so that we can have our mental, physical, spiritual foundations in place to live purposeful, meaningful lives. And in this imaginative glimpse at a post-COVID-19 world, where I said, I don't have any crystal ball here, but I'm imagining, if we're not careful and we're not prepared for a collective global lesson, recognizing that viruses don't know borders. We are now a global community. I remember there was one previous podcast where I talked about dialoguing memes, where Huxley said to Talking Heads, "It's a brave new world," and the Talking Heads responded, "Same as it ever was." Well, I guess that conversation has to change. It's a brave new world out there, and I'm not sure what the response is at this time, because we're in it. We are in it. But what we do know is we're seeing people creatively coming together, supporting one another. That is reason for optimism. And that we're experiencing this opportunity to be at home with our families and focus on nurturing our health and our relationships. And then have an opportunity to do some reflection and think in this post-COVID-19 world where, if we're prepared, we won't have to experience depression once we're isolating, because isolation is one of the ways of containing the pandemic. And once we recognize that, okay, so maybe in a post-COVID-19 world, we're not going to be shaking hands. Maybe we're going to be bowing. And, there's going to be new concepts of what our personal bubbles look like. And it's because we have a incredible growing population, and we need to be able to live together and be healthy with one another, because we are individuals in communities. So I don't know, there could be some lessons. Maybe there's a part of me that was hesitant in terms of like offering this as a thought for this moment, because maybe it's too soon. But I mean, this is just where my mind has gone. I was just like, you know what? This is tough. This is hard, but we can do hard things. And look at what's happening. People are coming together and rallying one another. And there's a real optimistic spirit, I think, that's in the air. And when this is all done, we might have to make some changes in terms of the way we're living. Like even right now, when I went for a walk, my last walk, which was 3 days ago, I noticed that as I was walking, instead of just, my usual walking past people and saying hello, when I was approaching someone and they were approaching me, I took a tangent and did a zigzag to the other side of the road, and then back again to the other side of the road and back onto the sidewalk, just to give that distance and to create a sense of respect and to honor my health and another person's health. This is the way the social fabric is being impacted, and things are changing. we can perhaps embrace the change and be prepared for this. And so that's my thought about one possible glimpse of a post-COVID-19 world. So yeah, please don't forget what you know. You know that we need good sleep. You know that we need to eat healthy. You know that we need to do exercise. We need to get some exercise. You know that if we can and you're not sick, we need hugs. But right now that's probably on hold, and that's probably making some people feel a little blue, a little down, a little sad. So make a card for someone. Play the piano for someone. Text a warm thought, a happy fuzzy to someone. In terms of distraction projects or cabin fever projects, start working on your vision board for life in a post-COVID-19 world. There's so many different possible projects. And as I said, go to the Good News Network and check that out. So I'm blithering, and I was just reflecting, and I thought I'd share some thoughts. Peace and take care.